I like an art yarn as much as the next person, but there are some projects which actually need a smooth, consistent yarn if we're going to get the results that we want. So in this video, I'm going to share some of the tricks and tips that I was taught by other spinners when I wanted to start spinning a consistent, smooth yarn. My name's Rebecca. I'm a hand spinner, knitter and new weaver, and you're very welcome to my home in West Wales. Before I start with my tips, I'm going to put it back out there to you. If you can spin a really lovely consistent yarn and you've got some tricks and tips that I haven't mentioned, then please put them in the comments below so other spinners can get the advantage of your experience. So without further ado, on with the video. My first tip is to give yourself a little grace, take a deep breath and relax. No one cares if you make a lumpy yarn. Possibly you care, but nobody else in the world does. So just remember that. This is fibre arts, it's supposed to be fun. Don't get stressed out about it. And if you relax, you're going to make a better yarn anyway. So in this relaxed state, we're going to choose our fibre. So my second tip, choose something that's easy to spin. Don't give yourself more work than you need, and choose a combed top. The fibres are already aligned, they're already in that formation. So it's going to be much easier to spin something that's consistent and smooth if you start with something that's consistent and smooth. My next tip is do a staple test. So just pull out the staple, look at the length and only draw half the staple length. Or less. You don't have to draw all the way through. And if you actually look at the staple when it's been drawn out, it's thinner at both ends. So if you're drafting all the way to that end, you're going to get a thick and thin yarn. So that really is a very helpful tip. And the best draw for that, or I think the easiest draw for that, is a short forward draw or a short backward draw. Both of those are going to give you quite a nice, consistent, and if you want it, fine yarn. As I think I've probably said before in other videos, I am a bit of a sock knitter and I do love to spin a sock yarn. And in my last video, I was hand painting this roving. It was actually the first time I'd ever done it, so I'm quite pleased with the results, I have to say. Not quite as I planned, but actually that's fine, because, you know, it's an experiment. And this is a Hlyn fibre wool, and it's, I think, going to make good socks because it's not uber fine. I would say it's probably more on the medium size. It doesn't felt particularly easily, and it, you know, kind of bounces back into shape. It is going to be more difficult to get a really good worsted yarn with this because I've dyed it and messed about with it, and so the fibres are not completely aligned anymore. I'm going to mess about with it even more because I'm going to split it down into little bits because I don't want these big sections of colour. I want little sections of colour. So I'm going to sit down and split this up and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. Because I'm spinning on an Ashford traditional with small bobbins, I always split any of my projects down into 50 grams so I can make 50 gram skeins. So we're just going to work on one skein for the moment. So this is 50 grams and I'm just going to put this off to one side. So I split that lengthways. Then we've got the rest of this, which is going to be one skein. Now, because I want to work with small stripes, I'm probably going to split this horizontally as well as vertically, because if I've got kind of wider stripes like this, by the time it's been drafted and spun, we're going to have a really long stripe, and I'm going for short stripes and flashes of colour. So this is my thinking on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just split it in half again, and you can already see that it's wanting to split again, so in half again, but I'm just going to keep splitting these down, and I'm not going for a fractal or anything like that, so it doesn't have to be very precise. Now I've got a section off, I'm going to split that in half. I really don't have a problem joining. I know some people don't like to join their yarns, but I don't find it very difficult, so I'm quite happy to have joins. And I'm going to just keep splitting down till I've got these quite fine, I'm calling them pencil rovings, kind of pencil rovings. And I've got my scales here, so I'm just going to weigh them up as I go, because I want 25 grams in each of my plies, because I'm making a 2-ply yarn as I normally do for socks. And I do have another video about which is the best ply for socks, because conventional wisdom says that you should do 3-ply. I have my reasons for doing a 2-ply, and I have got a whole video of that, which I will link somewhere if I can work out how to do it, which I'm sure cannot be too hard. There we go. So I'm just keeping on, just splitting them down, and I'm not worrying too much about where the patterns are, but every time I'm seeing sort of a long run of colour, I'm just splitting it in half. So I've got these sort of little bits to spin up, and that is just about my 25 grams. I'm going to pop that in one of my bowls, so I know that that is enough for 1 ply of 1 skein. So that's what I'm left with. I'm going to carry on doing this process, and I will see you the other side of it. So I'm all prepped up, ready to spin. So now, with the magic of editing, I'm going to spin the yarn. And also, by the magic of editing, I'm going to knit it up into a little swatch. It won't be a full big swatch, I'm just going to do quite a little one. And I'll turn the camera around and show you what the results are. So there are the results, and that's my colour inspiration. As you can see, the actual yarn ended up much pinker than I'd sort of planned, but actually I really love it. And as you can see, there's plenty of stretch in it, which is obviously what we want for socks. Is it the most consistent yarn I've ever spun in my life? No, of course it's not, because I was trying to make a video about spinning consistently, so actually I haven't spun particularly consistent yarn. Do I care? Not really. It's consistent enough for me. Oh, there you go. Well, I'm happy, which is all that matters. I hope you find my funny little wonky videos helpful and inspiring to try and make the best of your handspun. So for my next video, I'm going to be sharing a really fantastic stash busting knit. So until next time, happy creating, and I'll see you then.